Hello, Graham.
Good day, Michael. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? We meet at last.
Eventually. I've been going through your very long biography and
Oh,
some very interesting things. You started off living somewhere. Well, we're both from Africa. You from the northern part. I'm from the southern part. Um,
yeah.
but you were in the more rural part of Africa.
Well, we traveled around. My father was working on the railways, and he was an inspector for the whole of Nigeria, really.
Oh, yeah.
And we had this massive coach, which was a three-bedroom coach. We had a veranda, and so on. And we traveled to all the district stations, even as far north as a place called Gusau, which was on the borders of the Sahara Desert.
Yes.
So that was my childhood.
Oh, very
Um,
nice.
so it was amazing, really.
And I read in your on your website you used to play in the bush and run around, play with the local kids and that.
Yeah.
And
It's a funny thing, you don't need communication when you're that young.
yes,
You just need friendships. And obviously, in those days, my hair was bleached blonde and I've got blue eyes. So they were quite
amazed.
taken in awe with me. But we just played. We played in the sand with next to nothing, and they had nothing other than a rusty bicycle wheel, which they used to roll along with a stick, and that was their life. They didn't know how old they were. They knew they got up when the sun came up, and they worked on the land, and then they went to bed when the sun
Yes,
came down. And basically, that was the life.
but that's what life is. Don't you think
Yeah,
it was nice? And I mean, my kids have been here now for a year, and we were quite fortunate to live in the bush as well. And they've grown up playing in sand and mud and stuff, and now
yeah,
they're missing it. So
yeah. One of the jobs I used to do, I'm a hairdresser, and I used to get a Finnish family in every 3 years. There's a big company nearby, and I'd get these Finnish gentlemen and children in, and
yes,
the children couldn't speak much English,
yes,
but they picked it up really quickly. But not just standard English like we're talking,
yes.
but with a strong accent from my part of the world that I live in. And so
Okay.
that was quite bizarre when you could hear them coming out with these sort of like little sayings that belong in our part of the world. They just pick it up very quickly.
Then you came back to England
Yeah.
after Africa, and then you got involved in acting first, or was it being an author first?
No, it was being an actor first, and that was my main profession, really.
Yes.
And I took on the hairdressing to just cover for the lean times, excuse me, in the early days when I was just a casual jobbing actor till it got a little bit better.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and so that was the way to do it. I mean, if you try and imagine, I think the general consensus was if you went for 10 auditions, if you got two, you were doing really well.
Okay.
So you've got to be in that mindset. I think all actors are in it, ready for that sort of a defeat, really. When you go for an audition, you may think you're going to get it, but you don't always get it. And so the hairdressing was fine for me, and I just kept myself busy with that.
Okay. And then you started writing books because a clairvoyant told you.
Well, yes, in a sense, it's a sad story. I wrote a true life story. I went to see a clairvoyant after something that had happened for me,
Yes.
and she said, "You need to write books. It's all here." I've written 28 books so far,
Yes.
of all sorts of genres, but that very first one was a true life story. My wife was attacked and murdered and left me with a 4 and a 6-year-old. So they were very young at the time. So
Yes.
yeah, so I started writing books, and I'm what they call a pantser, Graham. I don't know if
Yes.
you've heard that term before. So I can sit down and write for 6 hours, and very little reviewing I need of it. I've got professional reviewers who will look through it. So
Yes.
yeah, that was a big phase for me, and luckily one of my biggest work really is a fantasy, and that's being negotiated at the moment to become maybe a big TV series in the States. So we're getting quite close to getting it signed up.
But where did the inspiration for your books come from?
I've got the mind of a 6-year-old boy with learning difficulties. That's the best way I can explain it for you. It's true. My imagination has always, and I think living in Africa, when there weren't really many other boys to play with, or children rather, and I have and still tried to keep that imaginative mind. I think that's what you need, and that's why it led on to being an artist as well. I think everything I've done has been along the creative route.
So I want to go through some of your art. A lot of your art is inspired from living in Africa.
It is, but I also get inspiration from things that happen, or I see things, particularly if it's photographic work, or and there's certain things I will never touch because I'm just not good at it. You've got to admit that there's certain things you won't do. So ultra realism is not my thing. I could draw a portrait of you and you'd look like the sickest man on this planet. There's a way to draw things, and as you can tell from my art, a lot of it is colourful. And I like those mixtures of colours, and they're bright, and I quite like that.
So some of your art that I've picked up on your Facebook with your African themed.
This one here has had more remarks from people when I put them up. This one in particular for exhibits more than anything else I've ever done. Believe it or not. And it's a technique that I saw that was performed by a Dutch lady, and I tried it, and it worked quite well. I like that one.
Yes, some more of your
art.
No,
that was an experiment. I said, what would happen if there was I can't remember now, but if in the days when there were horses, going back to dinosaurs, what would they look like? Of course, this is my sense of humor. A Galapagos, I think I called it, which that was just an experimental one. Now, this is another one where I thought I'll just play along with it, but I'm not going to do anything with it. I'll put it out there. And the number of people said, oh, yeah, I like that.
Oh, I love these. These are brilliant.
These were just, it was an experimental phase where I was using the side of a palette knife.
Okay.
And I thought, can you just get movement in a little black figure using the edge of a palette knife dipped in black acrylic paint?
What's on the bottom, sorry?
I'll tell you what that is. That's was just a sandy earth, and now I'd put on some modeling paste, and then I painted it. And I just wanted to have, that's the very beginning of when I started to introduce something I've called acrylosculpt, where I started using modeling paste and then other products to give a painting some texture. Now, if people come to see paintings in the galleries where I'm at, I ask them to do something very strange, and it takes a lot of persuading. And I say, I want you to go to that painting. I want you to feel it.
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't possibly touch it. You're not allowed to touch, No, I want you to. You see, what you're doing there is you're bringing in another sense.
Yes.
And that's the sense of touch.
Yes.
So I've done an elephant. The elephant's trunk is you can feel the contours of the elephant's trunk. And it's just another aspect of looking at a painting.
What did you do the elephant's trunk with?
Right. Well, here goes. You can buy something called modeling paste, and that is fairly expensive stuff. Okay. Then I went to my local DIY shop, and I bought something called Superdeck Deep Crack Filler, and it's lightweight. It literally is lightweight. You think there's nothing in the tub, and it costs half the price. And you can smear it on, and then you let it dry. You then put markings on it, like I've done on the trunk there, and then paint it. And that, now, if you feel that trunk, I'd like to think it's as close as possible to feeling an elephant's trunk.
What surface did you put this on?
It was just a plain canvas that I'd bought. This is before I knew of your stuff. But I am doing things now on your on ACF canvases, and it's fine, and it sticks on really well.
Okay.
But like I said, it's that like you won't believe it until you've ever bought some of this stuff from a DIY shop.
Yes.
That I can do a 5 foot square painting, cover it with this, and it won't weigh any different. In Nigeria, certainly in the north of Nigeria, you have something called juju,
Yes.
and that's the magic or African magic. And you would have Nigerians who would perform juju rites. And that was just my interpretation of one. Again, just I was just playing with the idea there of using palette knives and the edges of it. What I like to do too, notice with a lot of my African paintings, is that for the background you can paint it in, and I can blend acrylic paints. But if you use acrylic spray, that
Yes.
blend becomes so much better.
Yes. I have a lady in South Africa, and she does dot art, and she sprays
Mm.
just aerosol cans on the canvas, and it's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's beautiful.
yeah. This one again, there's nothing um, there's nothing fine about this in a sense. Again, I only wanted to use a palette knife, nothing else.
Okay.
And so, even so, I like that textures of the background and the textures on the dresses. And again, I wanted to get movement in there.
This is also on a canvas.
Oh, everything that I do is on canvas. Yes.
What did you do on the canvas? Did you prep it?
No.
You just straight onto
But
the
they are,
canvas.
yeah, there are canvases that are pre-prepped. So I think it's got gesso on or whatever.
Yes.
So, but I've never had any problem with the paint flaking, coming off, or whatever. The reason I like ACF canvases is that they are nice and taut. I have done some paintings where that tautness has gone a little, even though I put those spaces in the back, and you can see it on the sides of the painting. Now, there's one painting I did, it's of an African headdress. It's quite a colourful one, and you can just see the edges of the frame down both sides of the painting. A bit difficult to describe, and that it spoils it then for me.
Yes.
And that's a shame because I really like. Took a lot of work that headdress there. That this is interesting. I have a big silicone sheet, and on that sheet, I paint on it thick acrylic paint that I had put additives to
Okay.
in strips, all different colors, and I decorate the strips. It takes 5 days to dry. You then peel it off, and it feels like wallpaper. And then I cut them out to templates and then
Okay.
stick them on for the headdress. And that's how that works.
And her face is done by your finger.
No, it's done with a small square paintbrush,
Okay.
paintbrush, very small ones. And that's a technique that I saw that was done by somebody else. And I thought I'll give it a try on a face. I wonder if it could work. And it does. And I did another one of the Exu tribe from I think it's East Africa. They're wearing all orange. There's a whole family there. And that is the same effect. And it works well because it sort of gives it some texture. Although you don't really would feel it on the canvas itself. And again, I use that acrylic spray for the background, and so you can get those combination of complementary colors that are there.
It's really good. It's really so. Then you've been using ACF canvas, and your I think your first painting was this one.
Yes. That's a funny story. This is I think this was one that was is from an art investor that is investing in my paintings, which is lovely, and he wanted to get one for his daughter. I'm sure by the time this all goes out, she hasn't seen it yet, but when she sees it, the remit I got was, can you paint some penguins for me? And then I discovered there's 24 different species of penguin. So she narrowed it down to 4. And the rock hopper here was one of them. And I like these because they've got a bit of color, but they've got attitude. To me, they look like a group of lads going into town on a Saturday night looking for trouble.
Yeah.
You can see them, can't you? And so that's why I decided to do that, really. And I'm really pleased with that. And again, the background, not the stuff they're standing on, the sand and the surf there, but the blue sky and so on behind
Yes.
is just acrylic spray, some light blue, a little bit of white for the clouds, but just I wanted it non-distinct. It's almost like you've taken a photograph and the background is blurred. It was that sort of effect. So it brings the characters out in front for you.
You've been purchasing the stretch canvas, the 20 mil thick.
Yes.
I think you've purchased twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I've got quite a few more to do some painting on.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit behind with my painting. I've got another canvas, two more paintings I've been commissioned to do, like that one of the African headdress we just looked at,
Yes.
but two more. One will be of a black woman, but the black, you can get black sometimes it's so black it's almost blue black.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I'll use that same sort of technique on that. And then another one, which will be an Oriental woman. So those will be going on ACF canvases, and they'll be a little bit bigger than normal.
And this is a pointless question for you. What's your 5 minutes of fame?
Well, I've got two in a way.
You're an author. You're.
That's all I've got is only two, but two. One was being invited to do a painting demonstration, live painting demonstration for the Swedish royal family. Okay. That came out of the blue, and it went down very well. That was great. And then the other one was getting a call. Oh, it's Graham. It's one of these classic things when somebody famous phones you up, and you think it's a friend pulling your leg.
Okay.
And so they said, "You've got a call from Yoko Ono." Okay. I said, "Yeah, right. Well, let me speak to the Queen first, and then the Pope, and then I'll fit her in." It was this sort of idea. And she said, "I'm being serious. It's Yoko Ono." I said, "Okay, put her on then." I still didn't believe it. And she started saying, "Well, you don't know me or met me, but you hopefully will know of me. And I'm part of the artistic team at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And there's something about your paintings, your African paintings, that I would like to exhibit."
Nice.
And they still didn't drop then. I was about to be quite rude, to be honest, but I held myself back, thank goodness. And so those are my 5 minutes of fame, in a way, I guess. Yeah.
What wise words do you have for upcoming artists? You've got a long history, a very exciting history behind you. What aspiring things can you recommend to new artists?
Well, this is something that is synonymous with being an author and being an artist. And that is, who do you want to paint for? And I once saw a very famous author reply to this question, and it made so much sense. He says, he was asked that question, who do you paint the paintings for? And he says, for the public, the people that like, write books for the people that like to read your book. No, he says, I do it for myself. The fact that other people like it, then that's what I prefer. If I try to do something specifically for somebody else, then I find that creativeness can go a little bit. So I've applied that with all my paintings. I paint because I want to paint and I like to paint it.
Yes.
Obviously, there are commissions, but putting those aside, everything else I do, and even with the writing, it's what I want to do first. And I think I think it does help the creativeness.
No, exactly what you're saying. I've taught my two daughters from when they were young, who's the most important person in your life? And they in the beginning they'd say mommy, daddy, and I'm like, no, you are. You're the most important person.
Yeah.
And today, when you ask, it's like, but in anyone's life, who's the most important person in life? Yourself. Because if you're not there, everything's toast.
Yeah.
So the same for painting for yourself. That's when you're going to be the most true.
Now, there is one other thing I need to, if I'm going to ask by artists at all, if there's anything to watch out for, please, guys, men and women artists, be careful for scams out there.
Yes.
There's a lot. I was scammed by a very sophisticated group, where they would even give numbers of, for example, galleries, and you could phone the galleries up, but they weren't the galleries; it was somebody else. And so just really be careful. Use the old adage: if it sounds that good, it could be. Is it as good to be true? Maybe it isn't. You've
Yes,
really
yes.
got to question it all. Just be careful.
And I mean, especially recently, the scams. There's the NFT scams. There's the PayPal
Oh,
scams.
no,
There's the
no,
false page scam. It just doesn't stop. It doesn't
no,
stop.
no. And you know what? You've got this amazing business that's working really well, and as an artist, as a business, as an author, as a business, it's very difficult to do all those aspects that come into becoming um, a brand name, whether it's being an author or an artist. You've got to do a lot of work. So I find it easier to get other people to come on board to help me. All I want to do, Graham, as an artist, is paint.
Yes.
If only it was that simple. But then the marketing, the publicity, the everything else there too. So I'm always on the lookout for a good sponsor or a mentor or some other business that can help me along the way,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and can do all that hard work so I can get on. And I'm a very prolific painter if I'm left on my own.
So this was a great interview. Nice insight into your life, your history, and all the amazing art that you're doing, and the new stuff that you're experimenting with. Thank you very much for this amazing interview, Michael. And I'm sure we're
Yeah.
going to hear more about you. And we're looking for updates on your experimenting with your new paints and styles. So
Yeah.
please keep in touch and let us know what's happening.
Yeah, lovely to meet you, Graham, and good luck with ACF. It's just got that feel about it.
I
I
appreciate
can't
it.
see anything but just really good things coming from you. So, and it's great canvas. Yeah, I'm not saying it because you're there. I'm not even going to demand any money off you for me saying it. No, it is. It seriously is really nice canvases. I'm really pleased with it.
Thank you very much for your support.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, Michael. We'll chat soon.
Yeah. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.